Hi everybody, this is my second video. This one is going to be focused on how to have shelter at Burning Man, which should be the second thing that you try to tackle after you have gotten yourself a ticket. Or if you're waiting to figure out the ticket, you should probably figure this part out as well, in conjunction or before. So there's a few different kinds of shelter that you can do at Burning Man, but to be honest, I don't really like being in a tent, and it gets seriously hot and seriously cold out there and seriously dusty. So I'm going to talk mostly about an RV and how to go about possibly getting an RV. And then I'm also going to reference other kinds of shelter that you could possibly do and try to tell you the risks and the benefits of them as well. So I'm going to start with RVs. So I'll be honest, the past 2 years I have used RVsharecom, which I'll put in my links. This particular website is pretty easy to navigate. Sometimes they aren't extremely responsive very quickly, but they do always respond, and there's an added layer of feeling like it's a safe venue to get an RV from somebody else and rent that. And as well as kind of having some on-the-road assistance. You can buy insurance for the RV on the website as well. So there's just some good added things to this particular website. It shows you pictures of the RV, and it allows you to communicate with the individual as well. And you can find them, or you can switch the range of scope of how many people you want in the RV, how much you're willing to pay, and even bring it down to location. So there's a few different cities that you could consider looking for when you're trying to get to Burning Man with an RV on RV Share. And hopefully one of these options would work for you, possibly maybe flying into one of these cities and then picking the RV up, and then just taking it back and flying out of one of these cities might be a good option for one person or two people to do of your group. Or maybe live in one of these cities, and that's super convenient because then you will have all of the things that you need right at your fingertips. Because that was one of the biggest challenges for me both times that I've done this, was that I had a lot of stuff that I needed to get into in an RV. And I only had a car to be able to get it all in there. So I had to do multiple trips, or really figure out how, if I could get the RV and then bring it back to my apartment to be able to load it up with everything that we had accumulated for this particular venture. Because you're going to have lots of bikes, you're going to have lots of bedding, dishes, your own stuff, your friends' things possibly if they live in your city. So there's a lot to really think about of how are you going to get all of that stuff into this RV or get it to the RV. So try to think these things through, especially the bikes. And I'll try to do a whole thing on bikes at one point. But anywho, since we are talking about RVs and shelter, you can look at different cities. Like I said, Reno, I would probably say go against that. Everybody that is going to Burning Man is going to Reno first, for the most part. And if they are, from international places, that's the only place they can really get an RV unless they've thought this through kind of how I'm telling you to do it. So the RVs in Reno are extremely overpriced, like thousands and thousands of dollars overpriced, because the demand is there. So I would highly suggest not doing Reno. Sacramento is another option. I looked into that, also pretty overpriced because it's the next kind of closest area, but it is another option, and there is an airport there to fly into. San Diego is an option, San Francisco, Las Vegas, as well as Los Angeles. They're all within about 8 hours at least, or 10 hours, so it's something that is possibly doable, and you could figure it out, or you could also hire a driver, which is what some people do. So they'll have the driver drive it up to Reno or wherever, and then have the driver either come with you if it's a friend of yours, or pay for the driver to stay in a hotel for a week, or just ship them back to where they came. There's a few different options with that, but if you can figure out a way to drive yourself in this RV, it's super convenient, and if it's at a different city outside of Reno, it may actually be pretty good for cost. What I want to say is that when you are looking for an RV on RVshare or on Craigslist, which you could possibly do too, there's also a lot of other websites that I'm sure I'm not aware of or have looked at and went against for whatever reason. But when you are looking for, an RV, be honest. Just be honest with the individual that you're going to Burning Man. You really don't want to deal with having to clean this RV and try to hide the fact that you were there. What people don't explain is that the dust there is an alkaline-based dust because it is the bed of an old lake. It's not sand. Like, it's not easy to remove. It takes vinegar to get it off of everything. I mean, it's really hard to hide the fact that you went in anything that you're going to give back to someone. So I suggest just being honest with them. The one thing to do is to try to find somebody that is open to allowing you to take it to Burning Man, but has not really had the experience of renting to Burning Man, because they aren't completely aware of what they're getting into related to the dust and the cleanup. So they'll probably charge you a lot less, which is what's happened, at least for us, for the past 2 years. We've definitely tried to find people that didn't know, and then we even told them that we would pay them a little extra because they were so nice and unaware. So we gave them like an extra $100 to $200 for the cleaning so that they felt comfortable with it. And that was just above and beyond, and it's a good courtesy. It allows them to know that you're responsible and you don't want them to feel off guard. So trying to find somebody that hasn't experienced Burning Man, that has an RV, but isn't going to overcharge you more than $300 for renting to Burning Man, because that's ludicrous. And I wouldn't pay that much to do that. There are different costs that come along with taking an RV. You obviously have to pay to rent one, unless you have one yourself. And that's the vehicle pass, that's $80. Once you're actually out there, there are things that you do have to buy, even though it's a gifting society when it comes to an RV. So one of those is to have it dumped. You'll probably have it dumped at least once, if not twice, while you're out there. Depending on how long you are out there, and that costs about $60 to do the gray and the black water. Sometimes they will upcharge you, just out of convenience. For the individuals, there's not too many of them out there, and it can be very difficult to find them throughout the festival. They are huge trucks, but they are difficult to find, so they will upcharge you, which has happened to us in the past. Also, water. You're going to have to refill your water while you're there, at least for cleaning dishes and things like that, brushing your teeth, whatever you're doing. I would highly suggest not taking showers in the RV. It eats up your water. You will run out of water very fast, and you will pay for it very quickly. Water is about $30 to $50 to fill up, but again, those individuals also upcharge if they, for whatever reason, just to make a profit. So just be sparing with your water, but you will pay for your water, maybe again once or twice while you are out there. Generator use, depending on your individual that you are renting from, may upcharge you for using their generator, unless you are in a camp that is going to allow you to hook up to a generator for the purposes of the camp. And then, like I said, paying an extra cleaning fee. benefits are you get air conditioning while you're out there. It is so hot sometimes. You need that. You also get a fridge and a freezer for food, as well as beds and space to really bring everything you want to bring up there. It's hard to fit everything in a car if you're trying to also bring up a bike and a tent or a yurt. You know, there's a lot of stuff. So you get that added space and storage to be able to bring all that stuff if you get an RV. So for the worst part really is about taking care of the toilet while you're out there. There's a lot of things that can go wrong. I highly suggest only using toilet paper that is for an RV. We did not do that one year and we paid for it. So it got clogged very quickly and it was difficult to get it out, and it was a whole process. So trying to not do that, limiting the use of that to number 1 and using the porta potties for number 2 are all suggestions I have. But so there are issues, and they do cost a lot more than other kinds of shelter out there. So, you know, those are the negatives about it. Another negative is that you just never know when it could possibly break down on you on your way in. You know, or run out of oil. So be paying attention to these things. Be asking these questions when you go pick the RV up. Is it filled with oil? Do I need to refill it at any point? You know, how do I keep it from overheating? And things like that, so that it doesn't, you know, have any problems while you're out there or on your way in. A lot of places, they do really break down pretty easily. So be paying attention to that. And some other things to think about is to bring some heat reflective shades, or I just bought like a roll. It was really big. I think it was like $50 of this heat reflective material, and then we just cut it to put onto the windows to keep the sun out and keep the RV as cool as possible and as dark as possible. And also remembering to bring a broom. And having people keep their shoes outside so that you can try to just not have so much dust. You will have a lot of dust, but trying to not have so much dust is important too. So those are some things I wanted to tell you about the RV itself. I'm sure there's a billion other things, and maybe I'll do another video about when you're actually out there, but that's what I can think of now in regards to how do you get one and what you need to be doing. I highly suggest that you continuously are kind of checking in with the RV owner throughout your time of getting the RV and having, you know, it set up, because what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to try to get an RV before the ticket sale, the main ticket sale, because once people have tickets, everyone's looking and everyone's trying to make plans. So if you can do it maybe like 2 or 3 weeks before you even do the ticket process, that's probably going to be your best bet of actually getting an RV, and possibly getting an RV that's fairly cheaper. You also are competing with people that are just taking trips on Labor Day, so you need to be very cognizant of doing this process early and trying to do your research as best you can. I want to say that there are RV dumps in Reno. So once you do leave, if you need to dump your RV before you give it back to your renter person, you can do that in Reno. I think it cost us $5 at the one we went to. And they give you that information actually in your welcome packet that you receive when you go into the gates. So try to keep a hold of that information, or you can just obviously look that up after, and it's pretty cheap. Try to keep your trash. I mean, this is obviously Burning Man, so you're trying not to make as much trash anyway, but try to keep your trash very limited, because to get rid of trash once you leave Burning Man, it does cost certain amounts as you go. So there's people that will take your trash, but they'll charge you $5 for a garbage bag. So, I mean, depending on how much trash you make, it might be pretty expensive. But Try your best, and also check in with your RV owner to see if maybe you can bring trash back to where he is or they are, and eliminate it there without having to pay. So another thing is that I highly suggest staying in Reno a night before you actually go into Burning Man. So driving up one day to Reno from wherever you're driving from, and then staying there, because it's exhausting. You never know how long it's going to take at the gate, and I will talk about that maybe in another video. So although it may say that it's about 3 hours to get from Reno to Burning Man, it might actually be 7 to 8 hours before you actually get from Reno in to Burning Man because of the line. And so I did it one time and I was super tired. I was cranky. I was anxious about the entire process. And it wasn't a good look. You want to be happy when you go into Burning Man. You want to be excited. You want to be rested, because it takes a lot out of you the whole time you're there. So I highly suggest driving the RV up, or driving your things up in your car the night before, getting a cheap hotel, staying for that night, and then going in the next day. The added benefit of that sometimes is that less people are going in during the daytime, especially early in the day, because a lot of people get their flights to Reno and then are getting there at night. Or they've driven all day from wherever they're going and want to go straight in, and so again, they're ending up there at night. So at least from the people that I've talked to and my own experience, less people seem to be in the line during the day. So it does eliminate time, and you feel rested, so why not? I also suggest doing that on your way out. Stopping in Reno, taking a shower, getting some sleep in a hotel room, and maybe throwing away your shoes because you're never probably going to use them again, and then using the next day to drive the RV or your car back to wherever you came from. Those are my suggestions for that. Other options for shelter, I don't want to go too much into detail with this because the video will be too long, but there are yurts, which you can construct and watch your own videos on how to make that, but there are people that bring yurts up there. They are comfortable and they're very cool. You can decorate them on the inside. They can sometimes be hooked up to air conditioning or a generator and things like that if your camp uses that, or if you're a part of a camp that does that. But they also get very, very hot during the day regardless, so they can be extremely uncomfortable. And you have to have something, other than a car, possibly a truck, to bring all that material up to be able to make those. So there are some benefits of that. They're obviously cheaper, but there are some negatives as well. Tents, they are also an option. I would suggest if you are bringing a tent that you also bring like an air mattress, or you bring some foam that you can lay in on it, because the ground is extremely hard. And I also suggest bringing some shades as well, because it's just going to get unbearably hot in the tent, and you're not going to be able to sleep past like 8 maybe, which you're going to want to sleep during the daytime. That's when a lot of people take naps, unless things are going on. So you could get a tent, and again, the benefits of that is it's very cheap. It fits in a car, and you're on your way. You're already on your way to Burning Man for maybe like $40 from Target, and some shades. But like I said, it's going to get very hot in there, and you don't have a shower, you don't have a fridge, you don't have a freezer, and so you may miss those things. There are places to take showers. They're pretty quirky, but there are options at Burning Man to take showers elsewhere. You can either try to find a camp that maybe a friend of yours is in that might have showers for you to possibly use as a gift. There's also a human car wash where other people wash you, but that's an option. And it's free and you're clean, so that's always an option. There's also a camp called Sweaty Betty, which will wash your hair for you, which for women is a great thing. So there are different areas and different places to be able to get a shower. There are different areas in Burning Man to be able to take naps if your tent gets too hot. You know, there's different camps that have really comfortable seating and places for you to sleep. So, you know, you could always just bring a tent and put all your stuff in it and never sleep in it and just sleep everywhere else at Burning Man, because there's definitely enough places to do that, and they might be colder than your tent. You could sleep in your car, but I think they actually have you move your car to a certain area, so that might not always be an option. And again, it's going to get really hot in there, but you could use the reflective shades. You'll have the same issues with the tent as you did with a car of not having shower, etc. Or there's people that you know, try to bend the rules and bring U-Hauls and sleep in those. Or rent cars or rent, you know, trucks and sleep in them. And I, again, highly suggest not doing that. There's a lot of forums that discuss that unless you're deciding to clean the air conditioning vents of those particular rentals, that you will get in trouble. Because they know that that's what's happening. They know that you are probably renting that to take it to Burning Man, and they're going to check for sure. And like I said, it's very hard to clean anything, let alone a vehicle that gets to Burning Man, and try to hide that it was there. It's basically a vinegar wash that you have to do. So it's hard, and you've got to replace air vents and things like that. So I wouldn't suggest doing those things, but they are options and they are cheaper. So do it at your own risk. Some people I know had like these ice fishing houses or tents or yurts or something, which were pretty interesting. They're kind of similar to yurts, and you'd have to look up those things. I don't even know what they look like or how much they are, but I would assume that they're cheaper than like the RV option. Another thing you could think about is buying an RV for like $4,000. I've seen them on Craigslist before, and just having it, you know, for Burning Man. I have a friend that keeps an RV up in a storage unit up in Reno, and he specifically only uses the RV for Burning Man, and he stores all his bikes and everything that he needs in that storage unit, and his friends kind of share that cost. So I mean, that's also something you could do. And I think that's about it. This video is pretty long, and I'm realizing that there are a lot of things that go into shelter with Burning Man that I did not know was going to take that long to explain. But have a wonderful night, and I'll make some more videos soon.